By the way, for more on the Alec Baldwin trial, let's go to certified criminal law specialist Lou Shapiro. Lou, thanks for being with us once again. A major development you heard Matt talk about pre-trial. Baldwin will not be identified as a producer. How significant is that?
Well, it's a very interesting ruling by the judge, because now he can just say, I'm an actor, and I was acting at the direction of management. I was being told what to do. I was being handed a weapon. I was told it was a cold gun, and I was doing my job. I was doing my duty as an actor. If he was held accountable as a producer would be, that argument wouldn't be as powerful, because then they could say, well, you were upper management. You hired this armorist. You had a responsibility to know what the armorist was doing. That major argument was taken away from the prosecution, a big early victory in this case for Baldwin.
Is it an insurmountable victory? Baldwin's attorney already arguing in their opening statements that Baldwin is an actor and actors are allowed to point and shoot a gun.
Well, it's a good question, and that really comes down to who the jurors are. If you have a juror that has a lot of experience with the weapon and is trained in that field, they will tell you a little bit of a different story. They would say, hey, if you've been trained in weapons, then you know you never, ever point a weapon at somebody, whether it is loaded or unloaded. Someone who is not trained in that field, though, might have a different opinion. Hey, all actors use weapons. I've been watching movies since I'm a little kid, and there are always guns in them, and things like this don't happen. This was an accident. How can he be found culpable? But you can expect Baldwin's strongest argument to be is that there was an armorist on the set. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was there for one purpose, to make sure that everything was done in a safe manner. This was her fault. She was convicted of it. I shouldn't be.
Hey, Lou, Baldwin's attorney in their opening statement saying the gun and the bullet were destroyed. How powerful will that be?
Any situation where you have lost evidence or destroyed evidence, that hurts the people's burden of proof. Because remember, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was a negligence case based on the actions of Baldwin, that but for Baldwin pointing that gun and doing what he did, she would be alive today. And when you have the actual piece of evidence that was not properly procured, kept, and analyzed, that's a point for Baldwin's matter.
Lou, we saw the body cam video from the officer who was first on the scene today, Nick LaFleur. And one of the questions that is being asked is about crime scene contamination. In other words, who was allowed to talk to who? Should they have been allowed to talk to who? Should they have been separated? Your thoughts on what you saw with regards to that crime scene video, the body cam video that we're looking at right now?
So it's very early on, and it's hard to really tell from the few minutes of a video that we've seen what to make of it. But in a general sense, contamination is something that is very important. When police enter onto the scene like they did in this case, you want to have all witnesses interviewed separately. That way one witness doesn't hear what another one is saying and therefore is repeating what the other one is saying. You want independent witness recollection. That's what you want. And the question is, did that happen in this case, or are a bunch of people conspiring together trying to match up their testimony in order to go against Baldwin? Remains to be seen how that pans out in the trial.
Final question before I let you go. Are there holes that you can see already in the defense case and in the case by the prosecution?
So the prosecution is going to have to overcome a hurdle, which is that there was a licensed armorist on the set who has been convicted of manslaughter, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. Defense is going to point to that and say that was her job, but not Baldwin's job. Baldwin's just an actor. So that's going to be the hurdle for the prosecution. On the defense side, Baldwin's going to have to explain, or his defense team's going to have to explain, why he wasn't more careful in handling the weapon. Anytime you're holding a weapon, you have to handle it with the utmost care and responsibility. Even if someone's telling you it's a cold gun, is that something that you do by practicing in front of somebody, a live person in front of you? Maybe you do that practice session against a dummy or against the wall. And those are going to be the competing arguments that go to the jury in closing arguments ultimately.
Certified criminal law specialist Lou Shapiro. Lou, as always, thanks for being with us.
Always good to be with you. Thank you.